Right, this is your trapline tip of the year that we learned this year from trapping, and that is, let's talk about scouting raccoons. So scouting raccoons starts, for me, here in southern Iowa. I think the best time to start scouting raccoons is in July. The reason being is because most of the farmers have put in their crops. You know, if you watch every cornfield and bean field that you're going to trap on your line, you can probably know that whenever it's in beans, it's going to go to corn. But the problem is sometimes as trappers, we don't always know what our line's going to be. You want to make it as economical as you can to where you're going to be either going to work and checking your traps, or you know, it's just a close place to your home proximity. So the point I'm trying to make is sometimes we don't always know what crop's going in next because we haven't been to that field. So wait till July, most of the crops are in, and then when you scout it, or if you're just happen to be going by it, you know, look and see what places have timber to timber. You need to do this in the vehicle, or you can do it on an aerial map, such as Onyx maps or whatever, and then mark out those spots that you think are going to be good, and then come back in September or mid-September, and that's when these raccoons are going to really start to make these trails that are very observable in the county right away. That's what you want to be trapping. We're going to talk about that in tip number 2 here, about where to trap and how to trap to keep these coons nice and ready for your fur shed. So there's tip of number 1, how to scout for raccoons. Again, start in July when the corn is available. Stay away from the beans, go to the corn, timber to timber on both sides with corn surrounding it on both sides. Next, we're going to talk about trapping county right-of-ways, creeks, and culverts. All right, tip number 2 of the year when trapping fur is choosing how, where, and when to trap culverts, high bank runs, creeks. Let's dive into it. Okay, so culverts and creeks can get muddy. When coons get muddy and wet and nasty, they're not fun to skin. So my suggestion is when to trap all year round, but how? So if you're going to trap with dog-proof traps, the animal's still going to be alive and it's going to be bouncing around. So if you got mud down in the culvert, if it's a muddy culvert down there, it's not dry, I'd be putting a 220 conibear down there, not a dog-proof trap, because that coon's going to get mud and it's going to get wet, and they are horrible to skin, and it increases your time skinning in this fur shed by 2. Me and my brother just skinned a bunch of muddy and wet ones, and it was not a fun experience. You can ask him all about it. It took us twice the amount of time that it would have took us to skin 25 coons if we would just have had them nice, dry, and fluffy. So set a 220 conibear down in the muddy situations on them trails, but you know, if you want to use your dog-proof traps, set them up high and dry. That's the term that you got to use, so you don't get your coons all wet and muddy. Pretty simple fact. You can use traps all year round. You just got to think about it when you're going down to those areas to keep your fur dry and clean, because there's no fur brush or hose that's going to make it worth it in this economy to be doing all that. So there's your tip number 2. Trap the culverts, trap the county right-of-ways, trap the high bank runs, trap the creeks, but just be smart about how you set your trap and think about how you're going to get your fur out of there before you set the trap. And your fur shed, which is going to be the next topic, will thank you because it'll stay nice and clean. All right, now this is the number 3 tip of the year, and this is the fur shed. What I want to talk about in this segment is what you need to be successful. Obviously, having a nice skinning machine is really great. Having dry fur, having clean fur, having a fur brush, having a tail zipper, having a tail stripper, some really high quality knives with either, my recommendation is use a work sharp knife sharpener, because with raccoons and any type of fur that you use, they're going to dull up pretty quick. and you just want to have that there. It just takes a couple 5 swipes on each side of the blade of the knife, and you're back up and running. So for me, that works the best in my fur shed. But you know, one thing that I want to recommend is less trips with the carcasses. Put a sled in the back of your truck, or something that will keep your truck bed clean, and then back your truck in right by the fur skinning machine, or whatever you're going to do. And if you're going to take them by the truck, take the carcass, take the fur off, take the carcass, and put it right into your truck bed. And don't put it on the floor, because then now you've handled that fur more times than what you need to. You see, if you take it right off the skin machine and put it in the truck, you've only had to deal with it one more time. Where if you put it on the floor, now you're gonna have to pick it off the floor and put it back in the truck. So just think about that. For me, that works the best. Or if you have a 4-wheeler and a little cart, you could also do it that way. Just back that cart up there, so when you're handling the carcasses, you put them right into there and then dump them. So there's your fur handling tip of the week. Take the backlum off the raccoon. Those are worth money. The skulls, everything but a raccoon skull has got value. The fur, and then get that fur nice and dry. Stretch it long. Don't ball them up in the freezer. Your fur buyer will pay you more money for it too. So that's tip number 3, and that's fur handling. So there's a lot more to it. Get them burrs out too. You know, at the fur comb, try to get them out, because the fur handler ain't gonna like that with burrs in them. So that you get a nice dry fluffy raccoon, you're gonna be off to the races getting them all done too. So that's your tip number 3. Oh, and have a good heat source in there, and that's the main thing. All right, this is tip number 4 of the season, and the final one, that is selling to the buyer. One thing you want to do is research who's paying the most, and you can check with Grunwald Fur, you can check with local buyers. This year, Grunwald has done the best for me. He's averaged a little bit higher for this part of Iowa. Now, of course, up in northern Iowa, you're going to get $6 to $7 average, maybe $8. Down here in Iowa, if you get $4.50 to $6 average, that's pretty good in the green. Now you can, what I've learned is you can flush them, but you might get $2 or $3 more per hide. But for me, with the numbers that I catch, that'd be about $200 more if I caught 100, which isn't bad. But I'd rather tan some and then maybe sell some on eBay. The baculum, there's some buyers there. I'm getting 50 cents to 75 cents to $1. It just depends how many they want, and but keep those. Keep the skulls. Don't shoot them in the head if you can. Anything but a raccoon skull is going to be worth some money out there. And then of course the meat, we're going to check into that too and see what the meat market is. I know in Illinois, by Chicago, there's some folks that really like eating the raccoon meat during the holidays. So these animals are a renewable resource. It's a great sport to get into when the deer hunting, the EHD and the CWD is kind of causing us problems with the deer hunting. And then of course the pheasants and quail upland game situation, that's going to help. The turkey eggs is going to help. So, and we just don't have no ice this year. We're getting some warm winters. So guys, get out there, hammer the coon, hammer the fur. If you want to take some bobcats and coyotes and beaver, those are there for the taking too. And maybe we'll do some videos on that here after a bit. But I think we got the raccoons down pretty good. So hopefully my brother gets a fur shed. We're trying to get him a skinning machine lined up, get a welder to do that for him. And until the next video, this video I wanted to do because of all the lessons learned this year. I'm sure there's more I'm not including, but this will be a good video for remember what to do next year.